Somebody I think we can shade a little bit, though, Tyler, is a quarterback that's been in our lineups for years now as a top 5 guy. And it's starting to look like I got some concern about my boy Mahomes, Mr. You know what I'm saying? Mr. I have a little I got a little concern about my guy, bro. And you know, he's been such a reliable play for us over the years, like reliable, top 5 every year, QB1 upside. A lot of hype on him coming into the year, and I think it was warranted. It's just situations changed. This isn't the same situation as it was in week 1, and this is part of what we talk about. You got to be able to adapt throughout the year. No Hollywood Brown. He was expected to be there, not there in the game. Rashee Rice out of the offense now, at least for the next 4 weeks, potentially more, potentially less. Who knows what the exact situation looks like? They're still doing some testing on it. Doesn't look good for Rashee Rice. He's on IR. No Isaiah Pacheco, at least, and who knows when he comes back. Pretty dire for him as well. So a lot of the offensive weapons for this team are out. How do you view Patrick Mahomes now? Because he's starting to teeter. Is he a QB1? Is he the name? Like, how you view Patrick Mahomes?
I think this is a player, we've talked about these kind of players in the past, just name. Like, he's name right now. And like I've said this, I'd rather have Justin Fields over Patrick Mahomes for the rest of the season. People think that's crazy. There's a lot of people out there that think that's crazy. And I think it's like, I'm going to give you a stat. Patrick Mahomes hasn't had a 30-point game since 2022. That's crazy.
Damn.
He's had one 20-point game in his past 13 regular season starts. That's not a quarterback one. That's not like, you could say maybe a back-end quarterback one, sure. But honestly, right now, he's, I want to say 15th in points at the quarterback position. Like, that's, and we're now, and he just lost his wide receiver one. Like, things aren't going to magically get better. And I think that, I have no idea what the hell is going on with Rashee Rice, but like, it's just, what you're hoping is, Xavier Worthy ends up being the stud. And I don't think he's going to be that. I don't think that's what this team wanted him to be. And now he's going to kind of get thrusted into this role. So for me personally, like, there's a lot, I don't want to say a lot, but like, I'm definitely, one guy is Fields for sure. And I think that Fields is like a little bit risky because Fields could lose his starting job. But if Fields was starting quarterback all season long, like, I would 100% want Fields because he showed you last week. He just scored a 30-point game. He just had he was the quarterback one for the week. Patrick Mahomes hasn't been that in a while. And it's really because of the weapons around him. And like you said, we thought the weapons were going to get better. Unfortunately, they all got hurt. So it's just unfortunate for Patrick Mahomes. And it's kind of, he's a player that you can't really shit on. I don't even want to say shit on. Just talk bad about because he's Patrick Mahomes. Like, he's the best quarterback in football. But for fantasy football, which we play, he has not been very good for fantasy football. So, yeah, I think that he's more of a quarterback too right now, unfortunately, for the rest of the season.
It's one of these cases where real life football doesn't translate to fantasy, and that happens sometimes. Sometimes players are better in fantasy than they are in real life, and I think this season, due to the injuries, we are not going to see that. And typically out of an offense, especially this KC offense, what you've seen is that they've tried to change this thing from a Tyreek and Kelsey offense to a 3-level offense, meaning you have some guys at the line of scrimmage. You have a guy that goes deep. You have a guy over the intermediate, right? And that looked like it could have been the case with Rice, Hollywood, Xavier Worthy. That would have been the perfect setup along with a Travis Kelce. Now you lose one of those options in the intermediate game with Hollywood Brown. Teams focusing on killing the Travis Kelce yardage. And so now you're left with less weapons. The run game gets killed. Isaiah Pacheco out. Now less options get killed. It's just this isn't as explosive in an offense. The only saving grace you can have within this entire thing is that if the Chiefs decide they want to go make a move for a receiver or another playmaker, that's literally the only thing you can hope for. So I would tear him down into the back end QB1 range just because of the name value. And I think if I could move him still as a top 5 guy, I would. He didn't even finish as a top 5 guy last year in fantasy. I want to say it was QB11, QB9, something like that last year.
Around there, yeah.
It was, and the weapons are worse. So I don't know, man. It's tough because we don't know what's going to happen with Rashee Rice. And, this has been one of the kind of crazier things too. Initially came out, torn ACL, out for the year. Now we're talking about a PCL injury. They're not sure if it's torn, what the situation is, if it requires surgery or not. There's some optimism coming out of the Chiefs locker room. There's some pessimism around some of the injury doctors that it could be longer. or even impact him for the rest of the year. I don't know, man. I don't know how to feel about it. Like Rashee Rice, are you holding him in leagues that you don't have IR? Because I feel like I would want to, like, if ideally, I'd want to trade him. I'd want him to be somebody else's problem rather than mine.
Yeah, and I think it's honestly for me personally, I would buy, I guess, just because I can't imagine he would be that expensive right now. But I would just hold out hope. We'll see. We should
What are you
probably
buying
know.
for? Like, what are you buying for? Like,
I don't know what
what's
he
the
would
reason
be,
why you would buy?
just in case he's not out for season. Say it is 4 weeks. I have no idea what the hell is going on with this
Yeah.
situation. It's really weird, to be honest with you, because typically we know, like, the only kind of hope is like typically they'll say it right away if it's an ACL. Like they usually say it the day of because they're able to do that kind of test. And usually we know. So I guess there's kind of hope that it's not the ACL and it could be the PCL and maybe he's out for season still. But like it's one of those things that I just can't imagine he's very expensive. Like if I had to give up, I was trying to think about this the other day. I don't even know who I would honestly give up.
What about wide receiver 3? That's like a Terry McLaurin. Would you give up like a Terry McLaurin for a Rashee Rice?
Probably not.
What about like Keenan Allen? Would you give up Keenan Allen for Rashee Rice?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably like. I think that Rome and DJ Moore will be better there, so I like those two guys more than Keenan. I was thinking like, I don't even know. I'm not sure.
You would start to get to more like French territory with like maybe.
But there could be people who are just like totally out. So it could be like maybe a Travis Etienne owner. You want to send them Tank Bigsby, and maybe they're just like, I have no hope that I think Rashee Rice is out. Sure, give you Tank Bigsby in case he overtakes this backfield, like something like that, something that's stupid. So it's like one of those things where I would just reach out to Rashee Rice manager and kind of like see what they want to move
some
him.
low ball offers.
Yeah, and if they say no, he's probably going to be out for season anyway, so probably a good thing. But in the case that he's not out, like, hey, why not? So
I think it's tough, and you got 4 weeks plus a bye. I don't know what Chiefs bye is, but you got 4 weeks at least plus a bye week, and then probably a limited workload. We're talking like fantasy playoffs at best, is if we can get Rashee Rice back, and if he comes back and it's not a surgery thing. So
yeah,
there's also risk for limited workload. So just be careful not sending too much for Rashee Rice if you're getting him in deals.
Yeah, agreed.